All right. We'll get started here. We'll now call the City Council regular meeting to order. Please rise to the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation will be given by Pastor Bob Johnson of the First Presbyterian Church. We can make you up here to the microphone there, brother.
Heavenly Father, we lift up the meeting this evening. I ask for your help and wisdom for each of our counselors. Father, we love this town. We want to see it prosper, but we want to see it remain a loving community. And so, Father, we seek your guidance. We ask that you would be with each member this evening. Again, that they would seek wisdom from you as they lead in this community. We commit this meeting to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Thank you, Pastor.
I don't think the podium is nice microphone.
Okay.
You gotta see. Check it.
Yep, Brendan, check it out. All right. If we could please get the roll call.
Councilmember McGuire? Here. Councilmember McCure? Here. Councilmember Taylor? Here. Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Here.
Mayor Anderson?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. First up, we have a proclamation. Jerry, do you have the proclamation there?
Oh, I don't.
You have
Proclamation for International Alpha Delta Kappa Month. Whereas women in education, women in education constitute a great portion of the nation's working force and are constantly striving to serve their communities and nation in education, cultural, and charitable programs leading to harmony, happiness, and peace among all people. And whereas major goals of Alpha Delta Kappa International Honorary Organization for Women Educators are to give recognition to establishing educators, to build fraternal fellowship among educators, adding to their effectiveness in promoting excellence in education, and to establish high standards of education, to promote educational and charitable projects and activities enriching the lives of individuals everywhere, and I can't read that word. Assisting, there we go. Assisting those individuals into happy, constructive, and fulfilling lives. Now, therefore, I, Garrett Anderson, Mayor, City of Avon Park, Florida, by authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 International Alpha Delta Kappa Month.
Thank you, Jerry.
That's good job. Really hard to read.
Maxine, if you'd like to come up and accept this.
that script.
Johnson.
Throw that out fast.
Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. This will be for items 4 and 5. Be looking for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the consent agenda?
I'd like to take consent agenda number 5 and move it to action, for I have questions.
Okay, we will be just for item number 4 then. This will be for the minutes for October 9th. This
Not the
person,
minutes, number 5, the purchase of the New Holland.
I understand what you said. We're only approving item number 4.
Correct.
So does the person making the motion for the consent agenda still want to approve item number 4?
Yes, I still will.
All right, second stay the same?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll for item number 4.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Towler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 5, questions about the New Holland tractor. Go ahead.
Yeah, as I looked through the information that was given, I didn't see what the extra amount that Mark wanted us to approve for this tractor.
Okay.
And my other question is, when we put in a bid for a vehicle for a certain price, how long do we have before that bid changes?
Go ahead.
My question, the bid can change, usually they give it to us for 30 days, sometimes the vehicles isn't even that, the vehicles have changed so much since the COVID hit. And when we get a bid for any machinery or vehicle, we have to get it prior to going in front of you to go on a CPI. And as you've known, for the past couple of years, they've all gone up, as in this case, it went up. And as far as this tractor, as I told Melody, we're gonna stop putting in makes and models. We're just gonna put in for a tractor because with trucks, we couldn't get the trucks this year because the dealers can't get them. In this case, actually, it's coming in under the $50,000 that was in the CIP. And David Roberts, who knows a lot more about tractors than I do, and the mayor does too, this tractor, he says, is just as good as the John Deere he's gonna get and for what we need it for. But this is actually coming in under. We're spending less money taking it out because this comes out of general fund for streets, so it's actually less money.
So this tractor is being used for streets.
Yes,
And I see that we approved it for 43? Did I get that amount right originally?
We approved 50,000 in our CIP.
correct.
And so what is the additional amount being added to it now that you need our approval?
It needs our approval to actually purchase it. So we approved the CIP, but that's not the actual purchase agreement. This is the actual purchase.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no more, it's not more money. It's actually under what you approved in the CIP.
So if you could think of a CIP as a plan, and this is the actual motion of doing it.
Okay, as I look at the background information that was given to us as counselor, it clearly states, as the new updated quoted for the John Deere tractor has increased and is now over the budgeted amount, and the public works supervisor and the New Holland tractor is of equal quality as a John Deere, the council need to approve the purchase as the amount is over the city manager's spending.
Right, I can only approve up to $25,000. And what that is saying is the John Deere tractor came in higher than the 50,000 we had in there. So we went with this tractor, which keeps us under it. And the amount is just, anything that's over $25,000. If this would have been $25,000
Or less.
right, I could have just approved it because you've already approved it in the CIP and it's in the budget. It's like there's a bat wing that goes on this for like 16. It's not on here because I can approve to purchase that because you've already approved it.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve item number 5?
So move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Towler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Up next, we have a slew of events. Starting first with item number 6. This will be a special event request with street closure for the annual Jingle Bell Run. This will be from the Jarrett family. Do we have any questions for them, or do we have a motion?
I make a motion we approve item D6, special event request for annual Jingle Bell Run, street closure.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. We're going to go through these kind of fast, so staff, if you have anything to add, please jump in. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Towler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 7, this will be a special event request with street closure for the LC5 Foundation 5K. We have a rep here to answer any questions. Do we have any questions or do we have a motion?
Make a motion we approve item D7 for the street closure for LC5 Foundation 5K.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Towler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item number 8, this will be a special event request with street closure for the MLK Parade. It's Raymond Jones, VP Southside Community Resource Center. Any questions on this event, or do we have a motion?
What about the event donation?
Okay, please come up. Just give your name and address for the record there, please.
Raymond Jones, address 206 Joe Hilton Street, Avon Park, Florida, 33825.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
And I'm not sure if we have to do this separate, but every year there's a donation from the city of 2,500, but it's not stated here, so I didn't know if we have to do something separate to do that.
Staff, any advice as to the procedures of how we should do it?
I'm sorry, I was getting Melody on something. Can you repeat that?
Sir, normally we get a $2,500 donation from the city each year. And I don't know, I don't see it on the agenda, but I didn't know.
Yeah, it is, city donation, you're requesting of $2,600.
26?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you know how much we have budgeted for it?
There's 12,000 in donations. and
Okay,
haven't
but we
used
don't have
any.
this as a specific line item?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, so we can approve the 2,600 issue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Raymond?
Nope.
Okay. Raymond, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from the council or audience?
I see they have a note here for the expired certificate of insurance. Did that come in?
I don't know if it's come in. The clerk is up in clerk school this week. She's the one that was dealing with it, but we will make sure that they're here at least 2 weeks before, or they won't have the event.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve D8 for the event and the donation of $2,600.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
A
Sec-
second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Towler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item number 9, we have a special event request with street closure for the Union Church's Fall Festival. We have Tracy Carabello. Do we have any questions for her? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve D8 for this Union Church Fall Festival.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
D9?
For D9, yeah.
D9, yes.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Towler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item number 10, this would be a special event request with street closures for Fusion Fest. It's Camel Long with the APCC. Is here to answer any questions. Do you have any questions for her? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I have a motion we approve item D10 for event request for street closure for Fusion Fest.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Towler,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item number 11, this would be a special event request with street closer. This would be the Color Run 5K. It's Camel Long again. Do we have any questions for her?
How does, go
No,
ahead.
you-
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Me too.
If you will, just give your name and organization for the record.
Camel Long, 28 East Main Street, Avon Park Chamber of Commerce.
Is this the color run that has the dry color that you run through?
Yes.
Yeah? That's cool. I'm so glad that something like this has come here, because I don't think we've had anything like that in this area, have we?
No, it's the first annual.
Yeah, that's.
So on that note, where is the stuff being shot at? Will it be on the road? Will it be affecting any of the businesses? Where's it gonna be?
So we're using the same route as the Jingle Bell Run, and again, it's one of those personal and self-responsibility. We'll make sure that it's not shot at businesses and homes, and it's not like with a power shooter or anything like that. That it would be little bottles of dye.
It's
Dust.
just powder, isn't it? Just
Yeah,
powder.
it washes out.
Yeah, washes out with the water.
So it's not like the color cannons that shoot out that you usually see?
We can control how and what we use for dispersing the powder dye. So we'll make sure that whatever we use, it's not destructive, it's not harmful.
Biodegradable?
We can make sure it's biodegradable, absolutely.
Okay.
Whatever their requirements are, we'll make sure that we adhere to those. It's our first color run, it's our first rodeo, so.
And Kamala, is it gonna be shot at the residence? I'm confused.
So they wear white t-shirts and they go through the run and colors get thrown at them and it's part of the fun. They get it all over their face and their shirts and all of that.
So it's pretty much gonna be shot at the participants?
Correct.
Okay.
Will we be able to shoot them with paintball guns?
So no paintball guns of any
just asking,
kind
for a
will be
friend.
allowed.
I assume they were going to be wearing goggles and other safety equipment.
It's not even like that.
It's not like that. It's
like
soft
baby
powder. It's like baby powder. Yeah. And it's just like you take the little squeezy bottles and you just squeeze it and the powder goes out and it goes onto their white shirts and makes colors and
It's actually very fun.
it's a fun thing.
I've seen all that.
If you Google Color Run, you'll see wonderful
idea is
children's
to-
faces and
Are you
adults
just trying to
having
get as
fun.
many colors on you as possible? Is that kind of the objective here?
We're getting liability insurance on this, right? All
It would be under the chamber's liability insurance.
righty, thank you. I hate to be a killjoy, but I am.
So Jerry, you going to be in the Color Run this year?
I actually think Jerry should. just
I think Jerry
because, you know,
should.
It's just,
Take a
it's
vote
not
on it.
really
I'm afraid
what.
You need to experience it at least
I
once.
think I'd be the most shot one out there. I think that's,
Given your height, you probably get the most color on you. We can make you really colorful.
I second that.
Thank you.
All right, so the answer to liability was yes, they do have liability insurance for this, right? Okay. Is there any other questions about this event? Obviously, it's the first annual, so it may go extremely well, it may not, but you'll have an opportunity to make adjustments.
So color runs historically have a history and they have a template of the way they're run. And so we may not run under like their particular umbrella of LLC that they have, that
Sure.
they've, patented that. But we are doing something similar and we will adhere to all of the rules that they typically have.
I see. Okay.
Contrary to popular belief, I will follow rules.
If you say so.
Is that on record?
All right, any other questions about the
They're all answered.
color run? Seeing none, I don't believe there was a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve D11 for the color run.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
One last question for Kamala. Has this event been done in any of the other towns in Pounds County? Sebring or Lake Placid?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
May I ask my partner in crime? Partner in crime?
Yeah, you'll have to. If it's anything other than a nod, you have to come up. Give your name and organization. If you want.
Rob Bullitt, Backtrack Promotions. As Mr. Jarrett just said, Sun and Lakes has done it before, and so as far as like a municipality or having a large event countywide, this would probably be a major one, more exposure.
So I'm sure you saw how that worked out and the inner workings of it and what to do, what not to do, right?
Yeah, I've followed the color run before. So as Kamala said, we're not quite following the actual company per se because it is an actual company, but we're going to try to make it kind of unique to Avon Park, and we're going to definitely keep the keep the mindset of being good stewards. You know, not leave the mess behind, not get anybody hurt.
Sure.
Because everybody is technically responsible, and we don't want any of that hanging over our heads.
All right.
So-
Is this meant to be lined the entire way by people putting color, or is it color at certain particular spots? Or
Most likely, it'll probably be color at certain spots as they come through certain spots.
you might be able to mitigate how much color gets around by simply doing it next to a field or something like that.
And our water stations, like we could, we could put the color
Yeah.
out at the water station. So like they get water, they get color,
I got
and it
you.
makes a little muddy mess, and then we hose it off.
So you're bringing them in like a trap. Is that what you're trying to say?
Only they signed up to pay to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Make sure I get the email because I want to participate.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll walk.
I'll make sure I put
Because I don't
everybody's
run.
email on the council and staff.
Good.
I think Mark's a runner. Mark, are you a runner?
Don't answer that, Mark. No. Yeah. All right. Item number 12, we have a special event request for Fusion Feast. Again, this is Kamala. Kamala, if you will, give us a little bit of the overview of what this will be.
So, in conjunction with the idea of a Fusion Fest, the idea is bringing cultures together, bringing people together under one umbrella. So the festival portion you've already approved. The color run is also bringing in another cultural aspect. So the feast is basically food from multiple countries under one roof. So we'll have small plates. It'll be a sort of a taster, sampler type setup where vendors, participants, they will have an opportunity to sell foods from their different cultures.
Okay.
So they'll actually be selling it. It won't be a taster from table to table. They'll actually be selling the food.
So the way we would probably do that is because they're small plates, you could buy like say 10 tickets for $10 or $12, and then you would go to the food stations and each ticket would give you a little sample. So like when you enter the event, you buy tickets for sampling the plates.
Okay. And the tickets will be how much now?
We haven't made those decisions yet, but ones that I've attended in the past, you could buy a packet of, say, 10 tickets for $15 or something like that.
Okay.
And you go to each table, and each ticket might be $1, a small sampling.
Okay.
So the event might make $5.
Wow.
Each plate is like $1. You get 10 tickets. You can try 10 plates. They're small sample sizes.
So if there's 20 different tables and you bought 10, you can try out 10 different tables,
Correct.
pretty much.
Those decisions haven't been made, but that's the template under which international fusion type events have been operated under. Again, we're going to follow, this is a first time event, so we're going to follow what has been done before. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Okay. And once again, you're requesting alcohol?
Yes, ma'am.
You love alcohol at your events, huh?
I'm trying to bring in a different demographic and a different group of people. I will share this little story. I went to a restaurant, bar, event location in Sebring, and there were a lot of young adults there, college age students and people hanging out and having a good time. They were all very responsible. They had 1 or 2 drinks, but all of the youth that live in Avon Park, at the dormitories in Avon Park, were in Sebring, spending their money there. I would like for them to spend some
The
money in
ones
Avon
over
Park.
21 were.
Yeah.
Of course. I carded and checked every single one of them. And I'm sure the owners of the businesses did too, before they served them.
Yep.
And so these gonna be tasters, what is gonna be?
This would probably be a bar,
A bar?
like an open bar, where they would be able to have a full-size drink. But again, we could do this, we haven't completely made all of the decisions, but again, we could do a wristband where, so wristbands come, and I had this question from you before, so I was going to clarify. Wristbands can come in a plastic wristband where they're little shards where you can rip off the shard and you've got like two, no hanging shards, no pun intended there. But you can have a paper wristband where you can just Sharpie like 2 strokes on it, and it could limit the number of drinks that someone would be allowed to purchase. But I do want to ask for Rob to come up on this one as well. This is my partner in crime. Can't leave me up here saying hello. Come on.
Use that very slightly, please. Okay, so the idea of the alcohol isn't necessarily to have a drunk fest, beer fest, or anything like that. It's just to actually just complement having the food, taste around the world theme. We're planning on having some live entertainment there within. Our goal is one, we're asking to do it inside the community center so we can control what's going on. We can make sure there's responsible drinking going on. We can limit the amount of people coming in because, of course, it will be a ticketed event, and it will reduce the liability and risk of either underage drinking or someone being reckless after leaving the event as well. So that was one of the main reasons why we were looking at having it inside and just not having it open. The city has historically had events that involved alcohol and events that the chamber has been involved in too in the last 10 years. One of which we had an Oktoberfest on Main Street. And if I remember correctly, we didn't have any issues with that. The JCs ran the beer wagon. We had the Firematics going on, the craft vendors, and everything was fine. We're not looking to have a major party in the sense of having a drunk fest. We're just looking to have alcohol as a complement. I personally do not drink, so it's gonna be a sober night for me. So, but there are a lot of people that do drink, and as Kamala did state, if you go to other events that in other municipalities or areas that have alcohol, you're gonna see people from Avon Park there, and other areas there. So maybe we shouldn't miss out on that opportunity to kind of bring them here. I think if we do it responsibly and with moderation, I think we'd be okay with it.
Do we plan on having somebody from the sheriff's department there?
We certainly can. And, you know, some international foods, you know, go with wine, or some international foods go with a beer. And it's not like,
Right.
you know, it's not like a massive 16-ouncer or something like that. It's, you know, a little 8-ouncer.
But it doesn't take a lot for some people. So, I mean, I would always recommend that you require, as a city, that you have officers for any event that's
Oh,
serving
absolutely.
alcohol.
Yeah, we will.
And my other question, I heard the part about you buy as many tickets you need per table that you want to taste, but is there a fee at the door? If you just want to come in, is there a fee at the door?
There will, as Kamala said, that we're still working on the structure of the event. But if we go the structure of where they can purchase just like any other type of food festival or drink festival, anything like that, where there are tickets for each vendor that you go and hand in to taste test, there will, because we are going to bring in outside live music from outside the area that is going to be, as long as we can make it pull it off, it will be a big attraction to the event. So we do have to charge a cover charge at the door to be able to afford this, but they're waiting. Those entertainers are actually waiting for tonight to move forward. So,
Okay, my last question before you say anything, Ms. Kamala.
Okay.
It seems like you guys are, and you're making a nice little sum of money there that night, but yet still, you're still asking for the center for free. You're making money at the door, you're making money with the liquor, and you're making money buying tickets for the tester of the food, but you're still asking to get the building for free.
So a couple things. The cost of the entertainment is actually quite expensive because it's a very well-known group. And even if someone comes in and they don't eat or they don't drink, there could be a number of people that could come in that do not want to eat or do not want to drink for dietary reasons or they don't like certain flavors, they don't like international food for whatever reason, but they're occupying a seat at a table and they are listening to music that is paid for by the event organizers.
I have a question for you. Have you decided to maybe have a volunteer group to do the investigation of the 21-year-olds before you maybe sell them the wristbands? And that way that organization can make a couple of dollars off of doing it?
Yes, so we're hoping to, of course, sell the tickets for the actual event, the door tickets, ahead of time. That could be bought online. That's what we're hoping for. But as far as, you know, wristbands, anything to do with alcohol, they're going to have to show their ID to prove that they are, and, you know, keep checking. And then throughout the event, we're hoping that we'll be able to keep on top of it too, to make sure that they're not getting more than what their designated drinks are, but, you know, to make sure that someone hasn't snuck in, traded wristbands or anything like that. So we're going to try our best. This is a first time event for the city. This is a first time event for the chamber. So we're going to try our best to mitigate any issues that could possibly arise.
And, you know, again, we have experience in certain areas. So we have experience in events. We have experience, I mean, my background is as an educator. So as an educator, you know all the tricks that people try. Like, I've seen a lot of tricks that kids try. So I know what to look for. I still get carded. I'm just saying. So we are going to make sure that any person that comes up that is requesting a beverage that is containing alcohol will be carded, will be ID'd in some way. If they don't have their ID, they don't get served, quite simply.
And I'll just add this too. All of our names are on this event, and I don't want to be on the front page of the paper. So,
not for a bad reason anyway.
Exactly.
We want it to be successful.
Yeah.
We want it to be
Because if it's not successful, if someone gets in trouble at this event, it's going to ruin it for future events. And I think all of us are on the same page. We're trying to make Avon Park better, and we're trying to make our events better and bring people here. So, I mean, I know I think Kamala is the same way. We're going to do our best to be good stewards of this event and make sure that nothing goes awry, you know.
Okay.
So they'll still be required to get the alcohol license?
Yep.
Okay. And then who's going to be preparing the food? Are these actual, I know they're vendors, but do they have, their licenses for whatever they're preparing and all that kind of stuff? Are they actual restaurants or food trucks or whatever?
It would be most likely either food trucks or local restaurants that we bring on board to do that.
Any other questions?
What about if you wanted to buy the tasted food to go? You thought about
I
that?
don't see why there would be a problem
If you
with
keep
that.
buying tickets, they'll give you whatever the heck you want.
If your money is green, we'll take it and we'll give you whatever you need.
Okay.
Bring your own container.
Oh,
No, we'll even
okay.
provide the container.
That's what I wanted to know.
Oh, they'll even provide the
We'll even
container.
provide the container.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Mayor, I got one thing, just
Please.
not a question, just council member brought up about waiver of fees, and this is something I've actually talked to a couple of you about. One of you brought it up to me that I've been looking into, just so from now on it's in your packet, because each one, I had Melody kind of quickly do it today, so it's a pretty good estimate. It could be up, down, but it's kind of in the middle depending on the cost of employees. But and all these events, not just this, it just come up when she asked a good question on a waiver, but each of these 5Ks cost the city, with our overtime members out, employees, about $450. And then this event with 3 of them, with the waiver of the fees for the community center and closing down the roads, 2 different roads, and then someone to come out and close, it's about $970. So from now on, we're going to actually work this up, put it in your packet, so you actually, when you waive fees, you know how much you're waiving, because with all the more events we're getting, it's going to eat up all the overtime for our streets.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, especially like the ones that are on a holiday when you're paying them double time and a half. Like you said, that adds up pretty fast, and we definitely want to have the events, and we have to decide whether the city's going to go ahead and consider taking that as is, or whether there should be a charge in the future.
There's something else you should consider as well, is whether a nonprofit corporation is using itself as a conduit to make profit for a profit corporation. And although the event might be good, the profit corporation is then making profit off of city facilities and expenses. So, that might cause you to have a second thought as well.
And again, a lot of these, what might be considered profit margins, are going back into other events for the community to develop and redevelop.
Well, you're nonprofit, so I'm not talking about you, but are they going back to private people that are profit corporations, like restaurants and vendors and things like that?
Again, a lot of these vendors come in under their margins. They come in to support the community.
All right, well, I'm just suggesting that might be an issue. And,
I understand. I understand your concern with that. The thing is like Kamala said, a lot of them do come in under margin to be a part of the event. But there again, if they're being a part of the event and the overall goal is to bring people to the city, that's it's exposure to their restaurants. Another thing too, as I'd like to add too, is with the waiver of fees, at least with our events, I can't speak for other events. If a city waives the fees in that, it makes them kind of an automatic sponsor or partner. So you'll get that exposure. It will be on the banners. It will be on the advertising information and it's helped presented by or made possible by the city of Avon Park.
well, actually, I wouldn't say so much a sponsor as I would say that, because you guys are independent contractors. But, it's obviously they're supporting it. But perhaps we can add something to the application that discusses where the profits are going to this event and to whom is benefiting private-wise.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve D12 for the special event.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second it.
We have a second.
Do you need to add the alcohol variance?
What's that?
The alcohol variance?
Yeah, you're going to need that alcohol variance as well. But you can do that separately or you can amend the motion.
Okay. Yeah, so part of the application process was that it stipulated that they were going to be serving alcohol there. So could it be understood that it's part of the application or does it need to be separate? Okay.
All right, so you're moving so whoever did it moved D12 with including the alcohol. Okay.
Including the alcohol.
Okay. Do you still wish to second?
I second.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second there. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
No.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes?
Mayor Anderson?
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, item number 13, this will be a special event request with street closure, Fall for Jesus Festival. Ms. Brittany Jackson, Florida Avenue Baptist Church. Do we have any questions about this event? On Zoom. Okay. All right, do we have any questions for Ms. Jackson on this event? Seeing none, does anyone care to make a motion?
I make a motion we approve item number D13 for the street closure for Fall for Jesus Festival.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor? Yes. Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes?
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Moving on to staff updates. Anything? Attorney updates, be item number 14.
Okay, do we have PowerPoint ready to go?
I I would say no, but they have it out on their, you can pull it
Oh,
up.
you have it on their.
Yes.
Yeah, we have it in our
Okay.
packets.
All right, so I've talked to you all about the need for a stormwater utility probably for at least 5 or 6 years. And earlier this year, you all approved doing a close look at getting that done. And so I had talked with Chris Rowe, your special assessments attorney, Brian Mill and Olive, and he's proposed a resolution. So let me go through this with you. Basically, you've got the information here on what a stormwater utility is. It would be a part of the city government established just as water and sewer utilities were to organize personnel for collection, transmittal, and treatment of rainwater from impervious surfaces, education of the public, establishment of rules to prevent pollution of stormwater and surface waters, compliance with state and federal pollution laws, inspections of infrastructure, planning, construction, and maintenance of infrastructure, and funding of all those activities. Stormwater utilities are an instrument by which cities can fairly distribute the costs required for fixing insufficiencies, improving the treatment to comply with law, and maintain stormwater infrastructure. The proposal is that the objectives of the Avon Park Stormwater Utility would be reducing problems and risks associated with local flooding, improving and protecting surface water quality, public education about stormwater best practices, developing and funding mechanism to pay for improvements and maintenance, establishing customer service database, and maintain accuracy of future assessments, and obtaining grants for infrastructure improvements. So just as a little discussion about these items. So the reason for this is that the regulations with stormwater are increasing, periodically, and as part of the Clean Water Act, they're getting more and more strict, and they're going to be very strict in a few years, as we understand. Right now, we already have some issues we have to deal with in order to get into compliance with stormwater, as far as personnel doing inspections and things like that, and improving certain fixtures and so on in the system. So this is a fair way to pay for it. So Chris Rowe has sent you a resolution, which we're going to look at the end of the year. This they're talking about publishing notice for December 11, 2023 hearing, which will be passing that with publication dates listed there. I think Mark has changed those in order to comply with the local newspaper requirements. If you're convinced that the stormwater utility is in the best interest of the city after hearing from staff and the public, you need to pass that resolution announcing the city's intent to collect a special assessment starting in November 2024 tax bills. If we don't pass a resolution this year, you can't do it next year. You can't do the utility next year because you won't be paid for. And by assessments, it has to be noticed this year, according to Chris. And so this is why we're bringing this up. So in early 2024, my proposal is you establish an Avon Park stormwater utility by ordinance, and early to mid 2024, pass legislation drafted by Chris Rowe from a BMO for imposing the assessment by expert rate analysts. Tax assessment will be placed on property owners' tax bill to pay for the cost of city management of the stormwater runoff. The question is often raised is how is it determined? Stormwater runoff is created primarily by impervious surfaces such as the footprint of the house, that is the roof and the structure itself. Impervious driveways, some driveways have pavers and those are more pervious, but concrete and asphalt obviously are not, and create runoff. The evaluations and calculations of the charge are complex and requires expert analysis. So until we've received an analysis by the expert based on our infrastructure needs and the impervious surfaces in the city, the final amount is unknown. However, commonly amount that's between $3 and a high of $12 a month. I don't perceive that to be where you would be. Mostly the average is around $4 to $6 a month. And some cities that have it already are Frostproof, Auburndale, Lake Wales, Mulberry, Haines City, Winter Haven, and there's a lot more. I had a couple lists, but they were on documents that were copyrighted, so I couldn't provide them. But there's a lot of Florida cities that have it, and many that are similar size to you and smaller, such as Frostproof. So why should we do this in Avon Park? We're required to file a comprehensive plan with stormwater management program as one of our elements of our comp plan. City is required by 403.9302 to create a 20-year needs analysis. You have an NPDES permit, regulations that are being passed, and infrastructure needs and personnel requirements increasing quickly. And we need a stormwater master plan to bring it all together and a plan for future developments to maintain a lot of their stormwater on site themselves. And if they have to pop off in a very high storm event, then we know where it's going to go and how we can handle it and where it can be treated. There's a quantity of surface water used for recreational purposes in the city, and this will help prevent pollution of those surface waters, which stormwater runoff is a great deal of that pollution because of the fertilizers and things like that. So I'd stand for questions. Anybody has any questions about this?
Is this runoff that's going into our lakes, or is it one going into our utilities, or both?
Some goes into the lakes and some goes into utilities, but I think majority of it goes into your lakes here. Is that not your basin?
Yes.
Yeah. It's my recollection is your in this particular basin, a lot of it goes into your lakes.
Okay. So I guess the question is, I know that the restrictions are getting ever increasing from the state, EPA and whatnot. Have they given us like a new standard or something that we're going to have to do X amount of projects over the next 10 years or something? Or
Well, we're currently under the permit that was signed off by me 2 years ago that, as Jerry said, they're getting, I won't call it picky, but they're really looking at stormwater now. We've got a couple things we're working with our engineer on that you would think, what are they looking at us for that?
Yeah.
And it appears it's going to, from what the engineer said, it's probably going to get worse. So.
Well, sadly, I was around when wastewater started getting more and more regulation back in the early 70s. And they started out with best management practices, BMPs, on how things should be done. And they gave us an MS4 permit, basically, which is we're watching you permit, okay? And you need to do certain things in order to keep track of, how it's being done and how it's properly being channeled. But as you said, a lot is coming our way in the future, everybody's way.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be based on city size at first, and you guys are not a large city, but you are, a medium-sized city, so you would be.
And any of these commercial buildings that are coming in, they're looking at us hard on that. That's when we got a little
for the
problem
new construction, you're saying?
Yes.
At the very least, in order to address those inspection needs and requirements for, the fencing, there's like barriers, silt barriers are required to go in and things like that. You need staff at your plant that are dedicated to that purpose. Right now, I think that you're using people dual purpose.
Well, we have 2 years ago, you gave us 2, knowing it's coming, but we've only got 2, and Avon Park, like it or not, some of us like it, is growing.
Sure.
And there's a lot going on. One thing Jerry covered very well, but maybe he said, maybe didn't. Right now, really what we're asking is, do you want to move forward? Because we have to advertise it 4 times before the resolution comes in front of you on December 11th. If you approve, if you say, yeah, go ahead, we get it advertised 4 weeks in a row. The resolution, once you sign it, that doesn't mean you have to do it. You can decide we're not going to do it next year, but if you don't do it, you can't decide we're going to do it. And as Melody can probably tell you here, well, from sitting in the budget discussions, this is general fund, and that's what we pay all the firemen out of, and you got the fire assessment there, but the funds aren't really there to put on more people or more equipment or, we pay an engineering firm right now. He oversees it for us, especially when DEP sends a letter to me. Mm-hmm. He gets it and then he works on it.
Yeah, the way it stands now, it's not a revenue generating entity, so you're not capable of getting paid for that cost.
Sure. So I mean, obviously, we take care of our storm drains now, right? And
We
so
do.
We're utilizing streets department to do that. Is that
No, we have 2 of them that are assigned to that, and then whenever they need help, the streets help them out.
okay?
You'll have things like street sweepers that, that are going to be required in the future in order to keep that, debris from going into the stormwater drains and so on. It's just,
But ultimately, this is going to result in more retention, right? That's
yeah, well, treatment is, in that case, is retention, but it's like percolation through the soils, or there's actual treatment processes whereby they have different layers of soils and so on that goes through, or before it goes into lakes and things like that. So
a good example would be the underground basins that we put in around Lake Verona.
right.
Gotcha. So we're going to be doing more of that to meet. Is there a certain, I guess, threshold of so much phosphorus and nitrogen that you can put into the water, or where does this go? I guess in the 50-year outlook, I guess is kind of my question.
Well, I mean,
I know it's
there's no limit right now, but just to let you know, for wastewater, they require 5531, which is 5 TSS, 5 BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, total suspended solids of 5 milligrams per liter, 3 milligrams per liter of nitrogen, and 1 milligram per liter of phosphorus. And so, I mean, I expect that that's going to be what you guys get in the future.
So I mean, are they basically saying that eventually we're going to have to treat every drop of water?
Well, it's not going to be treated. I don't believe it'll ever be treated, and I may be wrong about this,
Okay.
but it'll probably never be treated in the same manner in which you treat wastewater.
Right.
But it'll have to have some reduction of that impact, because right now, I mean, there's a lot of runoff that exceeds those figures because of fertilizers and things like that.
So I noticed it does discuss quite a bit about the master plan. So will there be a scenario where the city could fund a master plan and that master plan gets approved and that would give us X amount of years that this is what they're willing to say we are good with?
Yes, exactly. That's what the optimum would be, is, that we would have at some point a plan where it's, blueprint showing where everything is and what we're going to need in the future in order to properly treat as the city grows.
Okay.
And that way you can plan for it and you can get grants for it and all that stuff that, comes with knowing what you need to do.
Yeah.
Instead of having to address it at the last minute.
And that was kind of the other part of the question, is that if we have a master plan, we're able to dictate to the federal or state, whoever is giving these grants, would that put us in a lot better position to actually get those grants?
The better planning you have, the better your chances are getting it. And you might even get a grant for doing the master plan.
Sure.
It's not impossible.
Sure.
But this that we're considering doing tonight, we have to do the master plan regardless.
Yeah,
We have
so-
to improve our stormwater
Yeah,
regardless.
Yes,
This is
that's
just a funding source.
that's right.
Okay, so can it be used to pay for anything to do with stormwater, like the 2 employees that we already have dedicated to it?
That's what it would be for, is anything associated with that utility area as a cost center,
Because if you're thinking of $4 a month per person, realistically, with how much this stormwater stuff costs, that's not gonna pay for
I don't know.
those
That's-
kind of projects. We would have to get the grants if we wanna pay for those kind of projects.
Well, those big projects, yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of utilities that I saw on a list of rates that I couldn't provide you that, are very reasonable, $4 or $5. I think Mulberry was $6, last I heard. And I don't know what Frostproof is, but, the ones that are $12 are probably, very large cities that have really sophisticated treatment systems.
So will everybody pay the same amount then? It will just be a set fee, or is it gonna be based on size, location,
Yeah,
as close as you are to a lake, and those kind of factors?
well, not close to the lake, but what it'll be is, there'll be classes of customers, such as residential customers, and then there'll be like commercial customers. And a lot of the commercial customers, especially the new ones coming in, will be required to basically hold their stormwater on site. It's a drainage retention area, or DRA. they're required to have.
The SwiftMud already requires all of
That
that.
they do, and that's good, but a lot of them don't have it because they were here before that. So it would have to be, addressed by the city at some point. Things like dumpsters being put in, you'll want to try and address those because a lot of those things overflow and then they flow down the drains and things like that. Just a lot of stuff that'll have to be planned and done. And it's easier when you have a utility, organizing these things than trying to do them piecemeal.
Okay. Well, obviously, as you say, we don't have the ability to do it next year unless we advertise it. So I don't see the harm in advertising it, but obviously we want to take a close look at what the actual plan is and how most of these things will be carried out, and what the likely new regulations that we'll have to contend with in the next, 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend that you do a stormwater utility next year, even if you don't approve a funding mechanism for it, because it needs to be organized, and it just wouldn't be a separate cost center if you don't have income coming in.
Okay.
I have a question for the attorney. I heard what Brittany question to you was, would everybody fee be the same? So I'm gonna ask in a different way. If someone lives in a flood zone area, would their fee be higher?
No.
No.
No, it would be based on impervious surface, and they're not going to say, well, your house is 2,000 square feet, this house is 1,500, so this 1,500 pays less than. It's going to be residential, is going to be one figure, and then commercial could be another. There might be some exceptions for very large residential, but generally speaking, residential will be the same. And that you'll get a whole, once I guess Chris Rowe will provide the experts that he works with to do this, but once they'll be able to advise you on all the intricacies associated with rate making. I did that 40 years ago. I used to do rate making, but I don't do it anymore, and I've never done a stormwater utility. So I'm just shooting at what I think would be based on rate making principles. They'll be able to tell you precisely how they did it, but it will be related, I'm sure, to impervious surfaces.
Okay, Mr. Burr, so my next question is, you say, I noticed you said here, Y and Avon Park. And the question was, Florida statute say we need to create a 20-year need analysis, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's already part of your MS4 permit, but.
Okay, so my next question is, you said you've been presenting this to the council for the last 5 years.
Well, I'm off and on, yeah. I've been saying you really should think about whenever a stormwater issue has come up. I've mentioned it. And I did mention it to you all earlier this year. I don't remember exactly which meeting it was, but you proved going ahead to try and hire some people to evaluate it and see what we need. And that's the stormwater utility aspect of it.
Okay.
The payment plan aspect of it is the tax assessment.
Okay, so this is us three, when I say us three, us two and myself, this is our 2nd year. So that means you've been presenting it to us, to this council for 3 years before me and Shelley and Brittany came aboard. So what was the council saying then when you was presenting it to them?
I don't recall, but I just simply say you might want to think about a stormwater utility in the future. But I did specifically address it earlier this year and say, we need to hire somebody to come in and evaluate establishing a stormwater utility.
So what you're telling me is that the council never did just come out and say, no, this is not something that we think Avon Park need, or they discussed, never did.
Well, no, they did actually say that when I said we need to get somebody, they approved it. In fact, all 4 of my cities have approved it. It's going to have to occur at some point.
I was just curious what the previous council thought of it and why they didn't do anything about it.
We never went into any deep discussion over it. I just simply said that's something that is a way of evaluating your stormwater issues and getting them corrected and paying for them.
Okay.
It does, just because somebody's at the bottom of a hill, it doesn't mean that they should have to pay for the stormwater that's collecting around them and causing their front yard to be flooded.
Right.
it needs to be fairly spread because people upstream are dropping it on them. So that's how you do it.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion? But we just simply need a motion to approve the advertising of the assessment, or?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the advertising of the assessment?
But that doesn't mean that we're actually going to have an assessment next year.
This would be very much equivalent to how we put out the advertising for the millage rate.
Yeah.
It's advertised at, X amount. This is basically saying that we intend to do this in the future, but it's no guarantee that we will pass this and that we will actually institute.
Yeah. So you're going to, the resolution is going to be December 11th is when you're going to, or at your first meeting in December. And if you pass that, it still doesn't mean that you're going to have to do a tax assessment this year. But if you don't pass that resolution on December 11th, you won't be able to have the tax assessment. You won't be able to have that mechanism for paying for a stormwater utility.
Until when? Ever?
And, well, you could advertise next year for the following year.
Oh, okay. So when it's advertised, is it gonna be advertised between 3 and 12, or will they have there won't be a price by then, obviously? It'll just.
No, they won't. No, that'll all be developed by the rate makers. That
Okay.
will be working with Chris Rowe. Probably the same people that you use for the
Stantec.
Stantec.
Have we gotten estimates as to how much it will cost to get rates made and
No.
assessments? No.
Once you get through the resolution aspect of it, I would expect that we would include Chris Rowe in a meeting to have him discuss what was next.
Sure.
And as to cost and things like that. You always have the option of going out to RFP for both attorney and the rate makers. But I think that, Chris Rowe's done a good job with your assessment with for fire in the past. You've already had him retained for that purpose. As to whether you use Stantec, there are at least 3 or 4 that I know of rate makers for stormwater utilities out there. They're the same ones for utilities. Raftellus and Stantec are the 2 biggest that I'm familiar with at this point.
And you also could hear from the engineer on his side of why it's needed, because he deals with every day at big cities, our size, smaller, so he would tell you exactly, in his opinion, if it's needed and why it's needed and what's coming in the future.
Sure. Well, obviously, coming up with a new assessment is a big deal, so people need to understand, what the money would be used for and exactly why it's necessary. So, as much of that information as we can get, the better. But at this point, you're saying that if we don't continue this now, then we have no ability to really explore this next year. We'd have to wait till the following year. So,
In order to fund the stormwater utility, that's right.
right. Any other questions?
Do you think this would be a good thing so that the citizens can at least realize that we're considering it in advance? And just in case, and
Yep.
say we get hit with
Yeah, that's what
too many storms in the next 6 months and the streets are all flooded, then maybe people would be understanding if we did go forward with it.
Yeah, and the irony is, of course, we were just talking about it earlier. This is a La Nina year, and so it hasn't been much rain. If we were in an El Nino year, everybody would be wanting you to do something about stormwater, and so that's how that goes. But you need to be prepared either way.
All right. Again, any questions?
Just one more. So if we did establish the stormwater utility, but we chose not to charge the tax for it, would we still have to do the study? Or we would only do the study if we for sure wanted to charge?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do, and or as little as you want to do, is so long as you comply with the law. There's nothing requiring you at this moment to have a master plan, but it makes sense to have one so you know what to plan for.
Okay.
Okay.
And you can have the master plan without the tax assessment or the assessment.
So, do you think it?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What was that again? The last statement you made?
Yeah, so you can have the stormwater utility without the assessment. It's just you're going to pay for it out of general fund. And I think you probably know your budget better than I do, so.
Do you think it would be good at this point to have Chris Rowe or some other individual come and speak to us about what is likely, how this is likely to play out and what the cost will be in the future?
Absolutely. The December 11th meeting, I think we should have the engineer and Chris Rowe here, or at least have Chris, because he's out of Tallahassee,
Sure.
speak to you about it and tell you why it's necessary, and have your engineer come and discuss it with you as well.
Yeah, I think one of the key points would be pointing out the differences between the requirements of SwiftMud versus whatever this would be.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so then the motion tonight, we are going to vote to advertise it. And then on December 11th is when the engineers will come in and speak with us, and
You would pass.
that's when we make a decision on if we're going to move forward with it or not.
When you move forward with the resolution, that doesn't mean you're moving forward with the tax assessment.
Okay.
The assessment this is your opportunity to, if you don't do it on December 11th, you have no opportunity to do it next year. You can't have the assessment next year.
Okay.
And so
It's just an advertising requirement, basically.
So
Yeah.
we would be deciding on this around the same time as the millage rate and the fire assessment next year, as far as whether we're going to tax it or not?
I would assume that they would do it around the same time.
Yeah, it would have to be part of the budgeting process for sure.
But the study would have to be done.
The study would have to be
Before
done
that.
probably mid-year at least.
If we get a huge list of things done in time, then that's possible. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion? All right, make a motion to approve the advertising of the potential assessment, stormwater assessment. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any last questions?
No, I think it's good that at least we get it out there and we're gonna have to do the study anyway, so to see what the situation is. So we're not taxing anybody yet. We're not making any decisions until almost a year from now. So
Right.
this just says it's out there, and that tells people who especially are in areas right now where they have a lot of flood issues, when there's a lot of rain, they'll know that at least we're looking into it. And then the rest of the people will know that there's a possibility that they could be taxed for it, but it doesn't mean that we're going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, none of us have a whole lot of information right now, but
Yeah.
from what I hear, the
Yeah.
December 11th meeting will give us a good
Okay.
overview of what we're actually
Yeah.
going to be dealing with.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'm good.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Mature,
Yes.
Councilmember Tower,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 15, regular updates from city manager.
Just one, I'll be flying out tomorrow, heading to Atlanta for our Wednesday meeting with the FAA.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it's there for a smile, not a frown. So it sounds like we will hopefully be getting a resolution to a 2.5, working on 3-year ordeal.
Getting pretty close to 3.
Hard to
Okay.
believe.
All right, no other updates? Okay. Well, that concludes our regularly scheduled agenda. One thing I did wanted to bring up based on a conversation about all these events is something we might want to consider is simply having a budget that we're willing to, kind of like a grant budget for our events. As the city manager said, closing down these roads, the use of these different properties, it does cost money. Roughly $450 for the one particular event that we were talking about. And it sounds like that kind of repeats itself over and over. So something we might want to look at is establishing a budget of, let's say $5,000 or $7,000 that we can devote towards that on a first come, first served basis. And that serves two purposes. Number one, it's going to limit how many applicants we got, because thank God we finally have enough applicants that we need to do something like that. And two, it also strongly encourages them to get their applications in early, which has been an ongoing issue. I'm quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of people applying for events that are in 2 weeks or in a month. You know, they're supposed to have these things in months ahead of time. And so by having that budget on a first come, first served basis, people are going to be getting their events applied for first thing in the year. So if the council seems amenable to that, then we'll bring it up at our next agenda to go over and possibly set a budget going forward for that, or a tentative budget.
So we wouldn't be limiting the number of events that we were having. We
No.
were just basically waiving the fees for the first so over many until the
Yeah.
budget's gone.
Establishing a budget for the waiver of the fees, yeah.
And then any events beyond that, they would just be required to pay for the roads to be closed.
Correct, yeah.
Or pay for the community center or whatever else they're asking for.
Correct. Yeah. And then, of course, you know, we always have the ability, if there's events that are particularly near and dear to the city of Avon Park, you know, we have the ability to actually partner with them and sponsor, to actually make it a line item in our budget, rather than just simply at will, kind of how we do it now. So,
And Mayor, in all actuality, we really are gonna be limited events, right? Because, I mean, not that we want to.
right.
You know, we want things to happen here in the park. I'm just saying, in all actuality, we're gonna be limited events because once people realize they're not gonna get it free anymore, you know, off it.
Sure.
So we're gonna be limited events.
Right. And ideally, I mean, the same thing with real estate, you know, it starts out, everything's ag, you know, land is cheap, right? And then they start building buildings and they get more expensive. And there's only bigger and bigger and bigger and better businesses that can come into that area because they're all fighting for that small available real estate. And basically with events, hopefully the same thing would happen is, yes, we needed, let's say 10 events in a year to fill us up. We now have that. Hopefully we get better and better events that may not even be requesting that money.
And you said something about first come, first served. Do you think that's gonna be fair? Because you may have somebody who put in 5 events in one time, and then you got somebody want to come later that year, you know? So that
Yeah.
person that put in 5, get all those-
It's always fair because you can't apply for an event more than 12 months in advance. So if it's January 1st and your event is next January 1st, you can apply. So,
Well, I mean, on her point, we may want to limit, you know, if one organization comes in and says, okay, I have 10 ideas and then your $5,000 is gone, I don't think it's fair for that one organization to get all 10 of theirs funded.
Because they was first come, first served.
Yeah, so we may need to put a limit on how many, you know.
Yeah.
all good points to bring up at our next meeting.
Yeah. Especially when you see you got 8 right here at the end of the year. So, is there any way we could tell how much money we would have spent for the year? Or how much city did spend, city's cost for all the events in last 12 months,
The events here tonight?
for the last 12 months?
Now you'd have to look up every event that we had and then just multiply it by a given number.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a good idea if he, like Mark said, if he gives us that,
We
you
have
know,
like 20
run down
events,
each
then we
event, this
would-
one costs this much or
Yeah.
whatever.
Without spending too much time and being too terribly specific, yeah.
Well, and I mean, just to add to it, you can talk about this next meeting. Jerry brought a good point, where the money's gonna go. You know, it's 501c, but where's the money going? Who's the vendors in that? And those are things you need to know so you can, it's not pick and choose, but make your decision on who you want to waive fees on and who you don't want to waive fees on.
Right.
You need more information. Okay.
Right.
Right, because I kind of feel like some of the events only need, you know, this corner and this corner blocked off, and that may be $300. But then this event might need the whole Main Street blocked off plus Lake Avenue. That might be a little bit more. So how are we going to determine which one, you know, which one gets the?
Well, we may
the
set
bigger
a
one?
dollar amount per organization then. We may say up to 500 or up to
Yeah, I
400.
mean, obviously the most expensive is going to be like, you know, like the Fall Festival that closed down, you know, the entirety of Main Street, you know, a block each direction for multiple days, you know.
Or the
So that's kind of
Spring
your highest cost variant. And then, you know, with some of these runs that are over in a handful of hours and during regular time, that doesn't cost much of anything because the staff's already there. So,
So most of the time they're on Saturdays is the only thing.
Well, and it would encourage people to do events probably during more normal times, which may or may not be a good thing if we're talking about closing down roads. So anyway, all things we can flush out at our next meeting. All right, anything else for the good of the city? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.
Thank you.